Welcome back to This Week, where we sit down with Republicans and reformers working to restore safety, freedom, and accountability across California. Today's guest is Patrick Lee Gipson, a 24-year veteran of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and lifelong public servant working to bring common sense and moral clarity back to Sacramento. Born and raised in Los Angeles, Patrick comes from humble beginnings as the oldest of 5 children in a Mexican-Irish family that at times faced poverty and even homelessness. From those early struggles, he built a life of service, first as a city and county lifeguard, then as a sheriff's deputy protecting communities across Los Angeles County. Patrick's mission is rooted in restoring public safety, defending parental rights, and addressing California's homelessness crisis with honesty and compassion. A husband, father, and man of faith, he represents the values that built this state: hard work, family, and integrity. Welcome, Patrick.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I am retired. That wasn't in there, but yes, I don't think you said that, but I am retired a couple years now. So.
Retired. So
yes.
Tell me about how did you get in the service?
Oh, wow, that's a good story.
Yeah.
It was not my intention. I actually wanted to go to fire department first, but at that time there was a huge, what do you call that, freeze. So everything was on hold. You know, then obviously the city didn't have any money at that time, or the county, which were kind of in that same boat again.
Yeah.
So it seems like a recurring issue. But regardless, I was, lifeguarding at the time. And I think it was about 1990 something, 94, 95. And so I think it was like 97, 90, maybe 97, 98. One of my friends was telling me, sheriff's department is hiring now. I'm like, oh, wow, shoot, that sounds like, fire department hasn't been doing anything. They are still on a freeze. So I was like, all right, I'll do it. I need a job. I need a career. And I guess that was the next, leg up for me to go from lifeguarding. I'm already, protecting people. So I was like, yep, let's go there, Yeah. But it was not my intention to be in law enforcement. But I'm glad that things happen the way they are, because my life would not be the same without it.
And how would that be? How did it change your life?
Oh, my God. Just being part of a law enforcement agency in Los Angeles County or LA City, you see everything. You see everything raw. You see how the community is, not so well communities, dangerous communities. You get to be part of all of that. And you're actually there, to enforce the law. But at the same time, you have to have that compassion in you to talk to people. And, I did have one good story. I got a call. It was over, I think it was somewhere in LA, and they had somebody was detained, and that was my call. And so I had to go over there and check it out. So I guess this guy was, not happy or something with the train. So I went and talked to him. Actually, when I started talking to him and everything else, there was no crime. But the other partners I had, or one in particular, wanted just to take him to jail. And I was like, you know what, this is my call. I'll take care of it from there. Well, not everyone obviously goes to jail, but those who do commit those types of crimes, and you're gonna go. But I did talk to him. I was like, okay, cool. So he was, I had to handcuff him. I had to take him to my car, and so I got him into my car, me and our partner, and we're just, we started going. I go, I got your address from his ID. I go, what, is this your current home address? He's like, yeah, why? You're just going to take me to jail anyway? I'm like, no, I'm taking you home, because that's, where he was trying to get initially. But he was not expecting that from a police officer, that you were going to get taken home. And so he was like, I'm hoping that he saw that and went, oh, they're not all bad.
Yeah.
But
kind of like humanized police officers or sheriffs, because that's one of the things I've talked about with several people. In fact, I was talking about this yesterday. I was at this event that was for first responders, and it was highlighting the importance of mental health treatment for first responders, because that's usually something that you guys do so much and you see so much that unfortunately the resources aren't there when you guys need it afterwards.
Right.
And the discussion ended up going into just how much the mayor's office, specifically this mayor, loves to throw law enforcement under the bus whenever things get rough for her.
Yeah, and not only law enforcement, but as we've seen, it's also fire department.
Fire department, yeah. She was in Ghana, and then all of a sudden it didn't fund the fire department, They made sure the reservoirs were empty right earlier this year, and then all of a sudden it's the fire department's
Well,
fault.
it's not just her. It's obviously Newsom.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, they had the potential to take care of all those problems well before all of this happened.
Yeah.
But that was not their priority, you know. So they have other, I guess, ideas or issues. As we can see now, that people from Palisades Fire and over in Altadena, they're not doing good, you know. After the fact that you would figure that the government here, or local government, or just our government in California, would have some compassion to help them.
Yeah.
And that's not happening, you know. So I feel really, really horrible for those people that are, you know, and they may have some money behind them and stuff, but still, that was their home.
Yeah.
That was where they lived. Those were their memories. And now they're no longer there. And, you know, a lot of people still trying to get their permits, and they're not seeing it, you know. So where's the government now?
Exactly. And the ironic thing is, when Trump came over, Bass was like, oh, we'll expedite the permits and all that stuff. Never happened. I saw a video today that Adam Carolla posted showing the beachfront area in Malibu. So I know that Grant Cardone had said that in his like investigations of what's happening with that area. So the requirements that they were putting on the homes that are beachfront homes in Malibu meant that just to build a foundation would be like several $1 million. The homes would end up costing $60 million and upwards, just to follow the environmental regulations and all the permitting. And
yeah, that's all the CEQA stuff.
All the CEQA stuff. And then, so Adam Carolla was saying today that as a result of that, because everything's been so slowed down, most of the none of the homes have been rebuilt, but most of the lots are being sold to Chinese investment companies.
Wow. Well, I mean, I want to say wow, but then again, we are here in California with Gavin, you know, Newsom as our dictator. So a lot of people, you know, look at him as he's the one that's going to be Trump, or, you know, be the president in 2028. You know, good for you. I'm glad that you think that he is that type of person. But being in law enforcement for the many years that I have, you get a feeling, and you get a like more of a discernment of who people are, because you have to deal with them.
Yeah.
And then when you look at people like that, and you see their actions and they don't match what they are saying, and you go, oh, that's a criminal. That's a liar. That's somebody that I don't trust.
I love how you said criminal immediately was the first thing.
Well, yeah, his actions to me are criminal, but obviously, you know,
I agree. No, I agree 100%. That's something I've been saying for the longest time. I think, especially with the fires, for example, that was criminal negligence. I think that's a criminal level of negligence. I don't know if that's in the law, but that should be, to be that negligent should be criminal.
Well, who's going to put him to the torch on that one? It's not going to be any agency here in California. It has to be the federal government to do that.
That's true. So now that we're getting into politics, what brought you out to run for office initially, or get involved in politics, and specifically the Republican Party? Because your background, you're Mexican Irish. That's an interesting mix. But being, you know, having a Mexican mix, people wouldn't assume that people who are Latino. I'm from a Latino background.
Right.
They usually don't assume that I'm a Republican. They're surprised that I'm a Republican. Did you get any of that, and what caused you to go in this route?
Well, growing up, we weren't really inundated or even had any political leanings from one way or the other. You know, my dad, he's a Democrat. He still is a Democrat to this day, but he calls himself like a Kennedy Democrat.
Yeah.
And I've heard other people say that before, like Villanueva had said, I'm a Kennedy Democrat. Well, they do not associate together now in this time. They're not, those people were conservative. The left side now, Democrats, are not conservative. So they're two different aspects, two different ratios. You know, one side's on the other, one side's on the other. So I think we still have a lot of them still here, but, you know, say the least. What got me, you know, being into politics wasn't, you know, my growing up or, you know, in my family, but it was more recent with all COVID restrictions and taking our freedoms away. You know, you must do this before you are going to get, you know, put away, or, you know, whatever. I was like, no, you know, I'm a human. I have some common sense, you know, and I look at it, I go, no, you can't make me do any of that stuff. If I don't want to take a particular thing, I don't have to. You know, if I feel that it's not good for me, I'm not doing it. Do I have good information? Did I see hundreds and hundreds of people dead lying on the floor turning into zombies? No, I didn't see any of that. So I took, I guess you can say, my chances and saying, no, I'm good. I'll let my my DNA, I'll let my system and my body take care of that. And if I need that thing or whatever, then yeah, I'll take it. But you know what? I never had to, and I think I got sick. Maybe I supposedly had COVID, and it was gone in less than a week. Yeah. And did I have any other repercussions from it? No, I didn't. But my niece did. My niece took the shot and they had to rush her to the hospital. And so that was one shot that she took. I think it was Moderna or whatever. She had to take the second shot, or was Johnson had to, whatever. I'm not sure. But, it was something that she couldn't take. Yeah, well, they'll say, but not everyone is able to do that. But it's just something that it's an unknown. And if you have any type of self-preservation, you're going to go, no, I'm good, Yeah. So, but at that point, getting into politics was actually just trying to save people, sheriff's departments, jobs, deputies, and everyone else who was working for the sheriff's department to keep their jobs instead of getting fired. The department was going to fire 4,000 deputies at that time.
Wow.
Me and my wife stepped up, and we got a hold of a few other people that were involved in stuff already. So it was like, look, let's talk to this one lady and see if we can get this done. We did. And basically, we started all the lawsuits for LA County when that came in. So we first got on a Zoom. It was 150 people. Next one was 2,000. Wow. Next one was thousands and thousands more, until we were pretty much doing it all of California wide and across other states. So we were helping people get those medical exemptions, religious exemptions, and so that was our job. And then from there, how do you change what you're going into or what's happening in your world? You can cry about it. You can stomp your feet. You can, talk to your friends about it. But ultimately, you cannot do a thing unless you get into politics, into those elected positions, and hopefully win one of these days. We can win those seats and take at least some power back that we've long since lost. For I think a couple decades already.
Yeah, those are all such good points. The whole COVID thing was so insane. Just the mandate itself, the fear mongering around it, coming after people's jobs. There were people not only in law enforcement but hospitals as well. And like you mentioned, there's an aspect that still I feel like it's not talked about enough, which the adverse reactions and the very real vaccine injuries that people are. It's just like years later, you're still seeing people going through it. So, right. Honestly, I ended up waiting a long time to take it. And the reason why I took it was I was required to take it for a job, and I wanted to take the job because it was a good opportunity.
Right.
And I kind of set aside my better judgment. And in retrospect, I regret it because personally, I felt like my lung capacity has reduced. I never got COVID. I did have one day after the second shot that I was a little under the weather. But I feel like when I go for runs, I've always been very active. I just don't feel like I can run as hard.
Wow. Well, I mean, it could be, and especially what other people have reported about it afterwards. And, obviously cancer has gone up after it has, was deployed, like any other, I guess, vaccines that are out there, especially with vaccines for children, with autism, the rate of autism when the vaccines started going out, they're pretty low. And then you see like a 420% rise in autism. It's like, is there a correlation? Person with some common sense is going to go, yeah, I think there is, know. But I think it's just, if we're able to take vaccines that actually help us, or medication, I'm not against, all medicines or anything like that. It's just stuff that, comes out automatically real super fast. I'm going to be suspect of. But, obviously there's, medication for diabetics and all those other things that do help people live longer than they would have, lived on without it. Yeah. So there's a coin to obviously the other side, so both sides have a legitimate thing. But I honestly think that if if it continues to go this route, which I think it's not doing it anymore because we have Mr. Kennedy in there taking care of business, and he's doing a phenomenal job. He's protecting Americans, and some of them people may not know that they need those protections, but he's getting it for them anyway. So I appreciate that the job that he's doing, and he's doing it with a huge heart and compassion, and that's something that I really like.
Yeah, he is doing a great job. And I think that it's perfectly fair to be skeptical of vaccines. I think the reason why it's such a huge taboo, and I mean, you would get banned on YouTube for even questioning it.
Yeah.
They're now starting to reverse it.
Oh.
So they're starting to reverse it. But I think it's perfectly skeptical. It should be part of your freedom of speech to question that. But the reason why it becomes like, it's just, the medical industry itself, the way it forms a consensus, and it's almost like confirmation bias. Then they do so many different
It's
studies.
a business.
Exactly. And they do so many different studies that support the logic or the proof one way. They stop doing it the other way because that's where the money flows. They go wherever the money flows. So it's, I think it's perfectly fine to be skeptical. Just like it was perfectly fine to be skeptical about where the pandemic came from. You couldn't even ask questions about that. Right. And
oh, no,
all of a sudden now it's pretty much, most people agree that it was a lab, made disease from China.
Yeah. I mean, all signs point to China. In that respect, people obviously are programmed different ways from what they watch on TV, that channel CNN that I just cannot stand, but I'm glad the ratings are doing so horrible. They're losing more and more
out of
of their
business
ground.
soon, hopefully.
Well, hopefully somebody goes in and buys that sucker and turns it around, because that would be amazing.
Imagine if Elon bought it.
That would just throw him into a tizzy right there. That even just like, wait, no, you can't do that. He already has Twitter, X, whatever, and
Jake
now
Tapper would have a heart attack.
Oh shoot, they'd be like, okay, you're fired, you're fired. You know what? You guys are all fired.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. It'd be like a self-doge appointment. There you go. So, but politics, getting into politics and running. I ran for two elected positions. What's the first one was? I think the one. Can I say it? You're running.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you had put it out there yet.
I've been lightly discussing it. I haven't done like a formal announcement, but I've been discussing it.
I ran for the 30th district, congressional district, against Adam Schiff at one time. That was my first foray into politics, and I didn't know anything about that. But I knew that if you're going to learn, you got to just jump in. So you're jumping in the fire, and then you're seeing how the county party is and how all these other people are, and you're like, wow. So you have to make those inroads. You have to talk to people, and me and my wife, we did that. So she's my my backbone. She's my Malinois, she's not I don't call her my
such a good
guard dog, whatever. But she is a go-getter. She's got teeth, and she'll go on, do what she has to do.
And you guys are a really good team.
Thank you.
I've been out with you guys when you guys are organizing stuff in Van Nuys and in other areas. You guys work really well together. It's like a family operation. It's really nice to see.
Yeah.
Because you start traveling and working in different businesses. You very rarely see like families doing stuff together. So it's good to see that. I like seeing that. I like to have that in our party because that's what we're family values.
Yeah, family values are important. I mean, if you have chaos, then you have a chaotic life, and you don't get anything done because that takes up all your time.
Yeah.
So if you can get things done and you guys can work almost seamlessly, nothing's perfect, but you do the best you can, and people take notice. And so I've noticed that from just the hard work me and my wife had put into running for the 30th congressional, and then recently was the state assembly, District 40, Santa Clarita, Northwest Chatsworth, Granada Hills, Porter Ranch area. That I'm so used to seeing.
So wait, take me back to the race with Adam Schiff. How was that like? What?
Oh wow! So I was not ready for anything like that, but I was like, you know what? I've been in calls where I've been shot at.
Yeah.
People trying to stab me or
wow.
attack me. And I'm like, well, what do I need to be afraid of?
Yeah.
So I didn't really have a fear. But it was just kind of like, all right, how do we do this? What's the next step?
Yeah.
So we learned by doing. So we knocked on a lot of doors. and I think it was 9. I think there was 9 people in that race, and I came in 4th.
That's amazing.
You know,
for your first race,
my first race came in.
And you
4th.
ran as a Republican.
I ran as a Republican.
That's which is the hard. It's like doing politics on extra hard mode in California,
and getting attacked by another Republican too at the same time. I was like, oh well, this is how it is. Yay. You know, so that was an interesting race in itself. Just getting to know people, just people you would never have met before, and obviously you meet those people when you're knocking on their door, and you're knocking on their door. He may never see them again, but they'll remember that. Yeah. They'll know that he knocked on my door. He asked for my vote. You know, that's a personal touch where you can actually get, you know, that person that, well, wow, I know who he is. I'm voting for that guy. So the more doors you can knock and, you know, talk to people, it's great. When I was running for assembly the last cycle for 2024, there's a guy in his front yard working on his car or motorcycle or something like that. And at that time, my opponent was sending like attack ads on YouTube, every channel you can see, any Dodger commercial that came on, because that was World Series at that time. It was, who's the most dangerous person running in this area? Patrick Lee Gipson. And I was like, okay, you know, so my name, you know, got out there a little bit. You know, I have to thank her for that, you know, because she got my name out there. She reached a lot more people than I could have, you know, and she helped me in that aspect. But the guy that I did talk to, and he goes, "You're Patrick? Man, I am voting for you." You know?
Well, that's great. See,
you know, it was crazy.
I think that some attack ads, they end up having the effect that you were just describing. They get your name out there, and then people look into your background and they're like, wait, this guy's like he worked in law enforcement. How can he be dangerous? You know, the logic just doesn't work. Well, that's great to hear. Did you have any other encounters like that, or?
Oh yeah,
walking.
I've had a few other encounters. You know, just people. You know, I think one of the ones that I really liked is they were just happy to see that I knocked on their door. Yeah, and you know, they were hoping that I would knock on their door because they wanted to give money to my campaign. Yeah. And I was like, well, I'm glad I knocked on your door then, because we need every cent that we can get. Yeah. And by doing that, you know, invite us into their home, wrote me a nice, you know, $500 check. And I was like, well, we'll put it to good use. Yeah. You know, we'll get more signs, get more literature. Obviously didn't have enough to win, but we were damn close. Yeah. With what we had. My opponent spent about, not her entirely, but all together with all the other special interest groups that were trying to help her, probably about $7 million altogether they spent against me. And by doing that, it shows that it was they were scared, you know. And we only raised about $360,000. Wow! You know, and we did that good. So if we had the same amount, we would have won. You know,
that's such a crazy disparity. A lot of people at home may not understand that the California Democrat machine is super well funded. I mean, they, like you said, they have all these PACs, they have Act Blue, they just dump money into the state, and to see them do that means exactly what you said. They were terrified that she was going to lose that race.
Well, and here's one of the other things why they're so funded, and especially at that time because of the NGOs, right? So when those NGOs were coming out, they were, you know, government's giving them all that money. Where does that money go to? It gets funneled into their party, and it gets funneled into their candidates. Yeah. And so basically, your money that your tax money is getting sent to run against you, you know, and or not help you. So that was one of the great things to see, that a lot of that was under Trump's administration was, you know, put to a stop. However,
with USAID,
and many other ones, you know, because those NGOs would just get well funded, and then they turned around and they would do their own thing. You know, let's send out mailers against, you know, this candidate, and let's send out mailers against this candidate. You know, so basically they were doing the work for candidates that they didn't have to. So you look at it and you go, wow, you know, where's the fairness there? There is none, as far as I'm concerned, especially if you're running against somebody who's got millions of dollars and, you know, you're a grassroots person. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? You just do the best job that you can. And then you also got to think about being strategic in your race. I need to, you know, I probably need to get more Republicans, voting in this area. I need to get more Republicans voting in this area. So those are some of the things that, as in the LAGOP, which I am part of now, that was another interesting story. But I ended up becoming the vice chair for Los Angeles County, and I was like, wow. So it is a tough job. There's always something to do.
Yeah.
Always getting information out, and so we try to do the best that we can with what we have.
I mean, it's the second biggest county in the country, right? Behind only New York.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's huge. I think it's the most Republicans we have the most Republicans in California.
Yeah.
Than any other state.
It's 12 million people in the whole
It's crazy.
area? Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge.
It's a huge amount of people and a huge surface area to cover. So I'm curious. Tell me how that happened, the LAGOP stuff.
Well, yeah, that just came out. I figured, what's the next stage? I mean, I didn't win my race, but I was like, well, how else can I contribute? Okay, fine, I'll do what I can.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, winning that, and it was a landslide. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
People believed in me, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not the perfect person, for anything in that sense, but no one is. So I'll do the best that I can and, get information out. I like to talk to people. I like to keep people, at least, have some communication with them. And then there's, some people within our party who don't want to talk to anybody, and, they want it their way, or it's the highway. And I'm like, well, I can't work with you if you don't want to work with me, but I always give you that opportunity, to come out and, be part of what we're doing. If it's not something you like, then hey, more power to you. But we need to stick together as a party, as a Republican Party, and start having that outreach for people. And there's people that are sitting on the fence. And if you're there and you can talk to them, they'll come over and they'll help us. You know? So yeah, they don't like taxes either that are, being shoved down our throat. So, I think it's just something eventually that we have to get that information out to them, so that way they can, formulate their own mind and, figure out, oh, this is the best way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you feel the momentum has been going for the party so far? Because I did see some figures from some data that came out about a week ago. From February, I think about 90,000 people registered, no party preference, about 50,000 registered Republican, 30-something thousand, some independent party, and then like a little, amount there, here and there for other parties, and then only 190 for Democrats.
I saw that.
So, and somebody was actually telling me that if you go back to October, they had a net loss, and we actually gained close to 100,000. I don't know, because I haven't verified it, so I can't say, But if you go back to last October, but how do you see that, the momentum for the party?
Well, a lot of things, momentum-wise, we do have that momentum going on. And then in light of Charlie Kirk's death, we've seen a huge push with people who are younger. And, they're getting involved, they're getting activated, and they're like, wait, we do no longer need to sit here and wait for our parents to do something. We're old enough to take that stand on ourselves. And I see a lot of younger people doing that. And honestly, I was like, wow, if you really want to survive here in California, these kids are already doing it. They're more conservative probably than I ever was growing up.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So it's amazing. But I think we do have that momentum. And if we can keep that momentum going, obviously 190 people becoming Democrats is pretty sad.
Yeah.
So I can see why Newsom is kind of freaking out with Prop 50 and all that other stuff. I think there was a voter roll. They cleaned that up. It was like, what, 2.3 or 3.1 million?
I did see that they tried to. Did that go through?
I think so.
Oh, wow. That's good to hear. Because that last I heard, I saw that somebody was trying to block it, or some judge was trying to block it.
Of course.
Thank God. Yeah. I mean, I've seen, as far as ballot harvesting, I've been told, and obviously I have to say this allegedly, because I have people tell me stuff, people who know this stuff, but a lot of this isn't like covered by the media, so it's not like. But what I've been told is the Democrats have a specific precinct operation where they dump tens of millions of dollars, and they go to different apartment buildings, they go to different homes, and collect these ballots that are left over, either from people who moved or deceased. And because there are certain city ordinances that don't about a signature verification, they grab those, fill them out themselves, and just hand them in. And that's how they get a ton of votes.
So yeah, allegedly, we can say that. It's getting more and more to the point where those things are being proven. But I mean, just recently, this it's so funny that this person put their dog as to vote.
I saw that for the recall.
For the recall, and it's like, are you kidding me? You put your dog's name in to vote, and they got caught.
They got 3 ballots, by the way.
Yeah,
through the dog. Yeah,
3. Oh well,
3 separate elections,
and those would be federal laws being broken, and they're going to get federal time for those things. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on with that. I think that if we are able to continue that momentum and making sure that people do get repercussions for what they do, consequences, then we may see a little bit more of a pullback on some of the things that the Democrats are doing with their ballot harvesting stuff, because I know they're going to try and do it again. Yeah. But I think we do have a lot of federal enforcement officers out there who are going to be undercover. I'm assuming, because that's what I would do if I was in charge of them. I was like, oh, your guys' job here is to make sure we find out if this is occurring, and if it is occurring, then we'll arrest and we'll file the charges. And if we see that there's this behavior, or this suspicion is no longer suspicion, we see that it is actually happening. So there's a crime there. So there's and then there has to be enforcement as well. So it's California and New York. I don't know. New York's a little different than here because their police are actually doing some really good job over there. Yeah. And, they're taking care of protesters. I mean, they're taking them to jail. Oh, yeah. And here, NYPD, not so much.
Well, I feel like the difference between the NYPD and the LAPD is the LAPD gets their hands tied by the local leadership.
Yes.
By the mayor specifically. I do see, I saw this from being down and documenting the LA riots. I filmed a lot of that. And I was there and I saw how abused these guys were verbally, physically. They got rocks thrown at them. And you can tell these guys want to arrest these folks. It's just like the order just doesn't go through. They can't. Their hands are tied. Yeah. But just to wrap up on the voter roll thing, a couple of days ago, I saw this report that this man and his wife both received, for the special election, they received their ballots. And then a third ballot came in the mail. And the guy was like, what is this? Right? So he looked up the person. The person had died in 1994. So over 30 years that this person had been dead. Wow. And so he reports this to LA County. This makes it to the news report. And they go and interview the LA registrar. And his answer just completely, I'm like, what are we doing? He said, well, I have to verify that she's dead first before I can remove her from the voter roll. I mean, clearly, no.
Who does? I mean, aren't they supposed to do that?
Exactly. I mean,
already.
So how do we hold these bureaucrats that are appointed by Democrats? That's an appointed position, right?
Yes, it is an appointed position. So it's not elected.
How do we hold these unelected bureaucrats accountable?
That's a good question, and I don't think we're going to see any accountability unless we are able to, get some enforcement going on, because elections aren't just state and city; they're federal too. Yeah. So they all go on that ballot, right? So that means there's got to be some federal enforcement going on, or at least, if there's investigations going on, we're not going to know about it until obviously things, happen, the arrests go on. But I think it's something to look at, especially with our acting U.S. attorney here, Bill Asaley. He's doing
a great job,
he's phenomenal. Yeah. A friend of mine. And, I'm proud of what he's doing, because he was, oh my God, he was trashed in the assembly. They turned off his mic. They would walk in front of him, and when he's making, a speech for whatever, so very, very disrespectful. And look where he's at now. Yeah. So if I was you and I messed with him, I'd be a little, my fear would be up some notches.
Going up a bit.
Yeah.
So I think one of the solutions to this is voter ID, and there's a big push right now for voter ID. Carl DeMaio has this initiative, his petition. So, and I know the LA GOP is working closely with that. What can we know about it? So how is this moving along? Well, how can people at home help out?
I think it's the signatures and stuff that are going on with it right now. So it still needs a million signatures. I don't know where we're at this time with the number that we need. But it's I mean, these guys are at it every day. Carl DeMille, he knows that fair elections, you need voter ID. You know, if you don't have fair elections, it's not because the people, they don't need voter ID because, they're illiterate or, they don't, some people can't fill out forms. I'm sorry, but if they can get on a phone and they can type an email and send text messages, there's literacy there. And so I'm not going to take that one as like, oh, that's because of this. That's because of this. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. To open up a bank account. Yeah. Can you do one without an ID?
Nope.
No, you need an ID, right? Yeah. Most people have their bank card, or they have it on their phone because, their phone has Apple Pay or whatever. Yeah. So I think we do need IDs for voter ID, obviously. Well, do I think that may have made a huge difference in my race? I think so, but I can't prove that. Again, it's something that I think that when these things do come to light, we'll be like, oh, well, we knew that all this time, but here it is, so I guess it's a waiting game at that point,
Yeah. That's so, I was just thinking as you were talking, like the generation of leaders that our state missed out on because of this, it's really a great disservice to this whole state. I mean, there's a reason why so many people have been leaving over the years. Yeah. Right. And it's really sad because it's such a beautiful place. Everybody is so nice here. I mean, I was living in New York before. I came here a week before Christmas. I was like, it's 70 degrees and people want to talk to me. They don't want to just walk over me on the sidewalk. I can't believe this. This is heaven. So
we do have some good weather here, I guess.
Well, and people are so nice. That's also one of the things that, have you ever lived in New York?
No.
For a bit? Oh, yeah.
It's just here.
New Yorkers, they're very much to the point. Business, which I appreciate that. It's just like after 10 years, you get a little hardened by it.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see you getting hardened by that. I mean, it's just so packed in that sense.
Yep.
I've been in New York once, and, I got up to do something real quick on the subway and my seat was gone. Yeah. I was like, welcome to New York. I was like, okay, I guess I got it,
That's a good metaphor for all of New York.
Yeah, and the lady looks up at me and she goes, what? I was like, okay.
It's like, we'll take it from me. Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But yeah, we have a long way to go still, but we're making momentum. We're making headway. And I think if people just get more comfortable in knowing the fact that, this is just the beginning. We've only had about 8 months of Donald Trump as president.
That's so true.
Look at everything that we're going through in this country, the state, and we've got over 3 years left. Wow, I don't even know what's going to happen at that point. So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be a total transformation.
Oh yeah, I agree, and I think that's part of the reason why I like what he's doing with our finances. I like what he's doing with our tariffs. He's bringing money in. A lot of people are dead set against that. I was like, what's fair is fair. I've always said that. If you're going to charge me, I'm going to charge you, right? So if you have a business here in California and someone's going to charge you a tax and they're going to come and buy stuff from you too, will you not tax them accordingly of what you're making or not making? You need a business. If you have a business, you're trying to make a profit, and the United States has been taken advantage of for decades. Yeah, and I think it's time for that to start going on to some fairness to be put back into at least our financial realm. And then we were talking about, I think, cryptos. Yeah. Things like that. We've seen, we just saw an all-time high with Bitcoin. Yes, I have crypto. I buy crypto and I invest in it. A lot of people say, well, that's the next, what do they call that?
The
central
bubble?
banking digital currency. It's going to take control. Well, it's going to come regardless. So if you don't like it, that's fine. People didn't like the internet when it came out, and that's another form of control. Well, it's it's going to keep coming.
Yeah.
And this is what our world is turning into. I mean, obviously we have AI, and it helps out a lot of other people, but it's taking a lot of their jobs as well. Those are the realities of where we live now, and what's going on. So we have to adjust accordingly, but it doesn't mean we have to accept all of that. We still need to work hard. We still need to do things. We still need to obviously, knock on doors when we're campaigning and all those other things, but there's a lot of other aspects that, we as conservatives don't really go out into those realms with crypto and all those other types of deals. But we need to be smarter than, where we've been and where we were at. Because if we don't catch up to that, we're going to be left behind. And then if we're left behind, whose fault is it? It's ours. Yeah, we'll take the blame because we didn't see or think that it was going to go that route, and here it is. So we need to be forthcoming, and we need to be more on top of those things, and use those vehicles of financial gain to help our campaigns, to help fund what we're doing. So if we're able to do that, those are some of the plans I'm trying to do for 2028. Either I run or my wife runs or both of us. It depends on my investments and what happens, or what's going on with California in the next 2 years or 3 years.
It's such a good point, and I like that you tied back the crypto stuff into political activism, because that's the reason why we're in the environment that we're currently on. A lot of the people a lot of our problems are multi-millionaires, billionaires who are activists just dumping money into organizations like Antifa. There's one guy specifically who, and I saw this because there's this YouTuber, Nate Friedman. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
So I love him. He goes through New York. He exposes all these protesters. There's one guy specifically who I guess he sold his startup for $900 million.
That's it?
Yeah, right. just a chunk of change. And he is one of the biggest investors into Antifa and these local chapters in New York and in Portland, and that's why they got all their signs. And it goes to what you were saying, that we don't have a choice to stay out of certain markets. Like, you can't just be purely ideological. Correct. Or just think, oh, this is a passing fad. Even if it is, you just get involved, you see where it goes, and you minimize your risk as well as possible. But if it's not, somebody who invested in Bitcoin in 2007.
I wish.
Yeah, right. Imagine this. Back when it first started, multi-millionaire. There's so many stories like that. People who literally retired from making a decision to buy the amount worth of a pizza in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's insane, where things lead to. So and I'm just gonna continue to keep moving forward on those types of things and investing where I think it needs to go. I'd like to leave something other than debt and bills to my children. I would like to have a generational wealth and build them up, and make it, where, obviously, like you said in the beginning, like I've told people during my campaigning, my family was homeless. We didn't have jack nothing, and, we lived in a station wagon in Santa Clarita over in Bouquet Canyon Park, right there, the little stream. As a kid, it was awesome. Yeah. But I was like, we get to camp out, and this is where we live right now. Yeah. This is great, Yeah. But I know my parents, at least my mom, was going through some, really stressful, tough times, trying to keep everything together. And, God bless her, thank her, for, sticking her together and, doing that. But it was a tough time in my family. Yeah. And, eventually got out of it. And real quick, another Christian family offered us one of their homes to stay with them until we got on our feet, and so they did. It was actually really nice of them to do that. But I understand where those things happen. I'm not everything that I've got. I worked hard for, and it's not something that I can just say, I was born with this. I had to, no, I had to work hard for everything. With sheriff's department, you're doing working nights or early mornings, and it's from 9 p.m. to 5 in the morning. And then sometimes you're doing doubles, and you're doing this for years on end, 15 plus 20 years. of doing this, it's rough,
Yeah.
and it's hard. But when you stick to it and you get it done and you see where you went, you go, all of that hardship, all of those things that I had to go through was well worth it, So I'm glad I had those experiences, and where I'm at now, it's just like, hey, even talking to you, Dennis, like I didn't know you from whatever before, but we have like a keen relationship where we see things similarly, maybe not completely, but I respect you as a man in that, the realm that you're in here in LA, that you came from New York to do this. It's not easy,
Yeah, I mean, to be a conservative in Hollywood overall, it's like you're fighting a Goliath every day.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
But thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people need to hear that message nowadays, because in culture, usually the message is you seek the path of least resistance. You go towards the comfort, and we forget that. Like, life isn't always guaranteed. Like, things aren't guaranteed in life, and and you have to work hard. That builds character, right? That kind of service that you do, and the specific profession that you chose, you didn't go out to be like an investment banker or like things that you chose service, which is something that nowadays I feel like, especially in our state, has been corrupted when you have people like Newsom. And you have people who seek higher office so they can enrich themselves, the Nancy Pelosi's of the world, the Ilhan Omar, who went from negative $45,000 net worth to over $60 million now in 5 years.
Yeah, well, they can get away with that, I guess.
Yeah, well, hopefully not for long.
Yeah, they need to shore that up, because that's another thing that's not fair, but, we'll see what happens,
Yeah. Well, Patrick, I appreciate you coming out. This is very, very enlightening. I think your story is an inspiration. It's a uniquely American story. It's of hard work, perseverance, and service. And I think that I'm very grateful to have people like you in our party, because you represent the exact opposite of what Democrats are and what they believe in. Because they are all career politicians. They only serve themselves. They don't think of the public. And I say this a lot because there are a lot of people like yourself in our party who have gone through a lot of things, who have served either in the military or as a first responder, and that's what sets our party apart. The majority of people involved in our party have a track record of doing things for the community before they go and take up this I would say not very easy mission of running as a Republican in the state.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So thank you so much for coming down. If you don't mind just looking into that camera and telling people how they can find you, your socials, if they can donate, if you're planning on running eventually, if they can donate somewhere or find out more about you.
Well, let's see. You can reach me, Patrick Lee Gipson, for Common Sense on Instagram, my IG page. You can find me there. It's also on Facebook. I think I also do have a TikTok, which is, I was like, what? I have to get some way, somehow across to people. So I started using that as well. You can get me on Patrick Lee Gipson for, Gibson for assembly.com. I still have that.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a Gibson that my wife is a Gibson, so she may be using that website to run in the future, or I might use it, or who knows, so we'll see what happens. But you get a hold of me there. And it's, have a question or whatever you want to, me to tell you my story again. Sure. Why not? I don't mind doing all that stuff for people that really need to know how to get out of, the funk we're here in California. And, we're just doing the best we can. So if you want to get a hold of me, great. If not, I love you too. But yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick. I appreciate you.
Hey. Thank you.